It's Empire Total War United Provinces, video 54. If you remember in the previous video, 53 of course, we'd been attacked by Mexico, well, the Spanish in Mexico. We'd sieged their city, and they decided to sally out against us. The forces are very even in terms of numbers, and the last video was all about me deploying behind some walls because he does have some artillery. I thought I'll keep my casualties down to the minimum, so I've deployed well over onto the right side of the battlefield. I've put 3 units to the back. We've now got ring bayonets and not plug bayonets, so we don't need to mess about with reloading them. There are my main troops all the way along the walls. I've got, like I said, 3 units behind. The idea of those is that when his shock impact troops go in, his Indian troops, they'll beat anything that I've got on a 1-to-1, especially if they've got a charge against us as well, which they will because we're defending the walls. So I'm sorry to repeat myself from the previous video, but it's just a refresher, that's all, that these troops here at the back are in a position to be able to charge in and restore any holes that might have been created in our formation. I'm moving some over to the left now. I often find I do this with reserve, left, right, move them around all over the place, depending on how he's positioning his own troops. So I've got some coming across there now, a little bit further over to the left, because it seems as though he's coming in from the left hand side, and you can see I sort of curl round to the left on that wall there, thus possibly exposing a flank. My weakest position is over to the left there because there is another stone wall. The wall curls round, and there is an opportunity for somebody to occupy that wall and fire across my troops, themselves then of course having cover of a wall. You can hear the artillery going in. I am taking some casualties, minimum casualties. He tends to be hitting my denser formation troops at the back there for obvious reasons. He can create more casualties there. As I explained, there are 2 lots of troops coming over from the fortress itself, from Mexico itself, with they're just firelock armed citizenry, so they're not good quality troops, but they can still give fire in the same way that I can at the moment, because they fire single rank only. They're not quite as accurate as mine. The reload skill probably isn't as good. I haven't checked it recently, but they can still cause some damage. Okay. On the previous video, when I had a look at their lines, I could see that the Indian troops were quite central, quite in the middle there. So I expect he's going to be going to punch a line through the middle. I'm bringing some troops across here to the left, like I said, to cover that flank. It looks like they might be firelock armed infantry, so I should be able to cope with those. They're going very, very quickly. They're running in order to get a flank attack there on my chaps there against the wall. So I run mine in there to go a one-on-one fire. I expect to win that against the firelock armed infantry. Looks like he might have got a shot in before me there. Yeah, we're now engaged all the way along the line. His artillery are far off to the right there at the back. His general is running up and down the line at the back behind his infantry. There's some troops very close to my lines in the front. It looks as though they might be his Indians. I've got those troops on the wall there are able, sorry, on the back there on the hill, were able to fire over my own troops. It's not a good idea to have troops behind your own troops on the flat, because when they get into range they will shoot into the back of your own troops. But elevated like this, we're okay. To stop them firing now, of course, now that they're in the middle of a melee with my own men, I'm charging them in, swapping them over to the cross swords, which is the melee attack, taking the musket attack off there, and charging them into those Indians, so I get that bit of a charge bonus as well. The troops that he's charged are highly unlikely to stand, I'm afraid. He's got a concentration of troops here. We're not in the best formation really for meeting this line, but he has those 2 units off to the left there. They're both firelock armed citizenry, so they're not particularly good troops, and then he's just got that one other unit there that we're certainly in range of at the moment. We could do really with clearing away that firelock armed citizenry so that we can get round the flank, his flank on there. Okay, predictably, there's my first lot of troops running away. But we've used the reserves and we've plugged the gap. We need to hope that they're effective enough now against these 120 tribal troops. Oh dear, looks like we're losing a second one. They're certainly waving, they may well go. I'm looking at more reserves. I was hoping I wouldn't have to bring in more reserves. It looks like I'm going to have to. Well, he's sweeping all the way along my line there. He's routed 2 units. He's routed the one that was at the wall. He's routed the one I sent to relieve them, having charged in the musketry fire. He's now going along the side of my next lot of troops, which I'm changing over again to combat fire. To combat away from firing. So it's not looking good. He's going right into the middle of my line. I've still got off to the right the 2 militia units that are engaging the units in front of them. Now hopefully, being on a... well actually there's 3 units there, 2 militia and 1 regular, still behind the wall, so we should be getting a better fire effect against them than they are against us. I'm pulling one of those out, the far one. It wasn't very effective there, its angle wasn't good enough. I'm pulling that one out to plug the gap in the wall. Looks like my second lot of reserves that I sent in there, plus the infantry that I had at the wall, were finally enough to overwhelm the Indians. I'm sending one of those lot of reserves off to chase those Indians away, partly because I don't want them to come back. Partly I'd like to kill a few more of them before we attack Mexico, which I expect to be next turn. Not sure if we're going to be quick enough to catch any of those. Bit difficult to tell. Leaving the other troops behind, we should be in a decent enough formation to be able to continue the battle. Have a look, see what happened with those troops that I brought round. Yep, they're still in range. They're the militia that's always been there. I'm getting a little bit worried. The unit to the left there at the moment is taking a lot of fire. Now it's behind a wall and it's protected, but it is taking quite a lot of concentrated fire. I think it might be because the unit off to the right is stepped back, so that one unit there at the front is attracting all the fire. Anyway, we're over onto the left here now. You see he's charging in his, probably his Phylacon infantry there. I didn't notice what those were. Again, we're changing over to hand-to-hand combat. Oh dear, these chaps here have suffered enough to go. They're the ones that got attacked in the flank by the Indians. The ones that are now routing. Okay, straight back behind the wall. Get the protection of that. Now what we can do is hopefully get some flanking fire in against him from there. Now these are the ones I'm wanting to bring to the closer wall, the nearer wall, because I think they're waving a bit at the moment. Don't quite know why, because they've hardly suffered any casualties really, those. Right, we're still okay over here. We've got a 2-to-1 against him and we're behind walls, so that looks like a successful encounter for us. His cavalry are still doing nothing in the middle. We've got some troops to hold the centre and they're still able to fire. Only a small number of people, I'm afraid, from the angle that they're at. Now these can certainly still give fire and are doing. I don't know why these chaps here to the right are waving so much, or wavering. They're a little bit far out. They can't really reach from there. Now that's his gun there. He might just be able to get in and knock out some of his artillerymen and get that gun out of there. If he pulls it up any closer, he'll just be able to get a couple of grape shot in, which is not something I want. Obviously we're behind the walls, so that will help. Anyway, this will be continued and finished on the next video.